An unnerving and palpable tension has enveloped the global security landscape, a state of suspended animation where the world holds its breath in anticipation of a Russian countermove that is seen as both inevitable and potentially catastrophic. This profound sense of foreboding stems from the successful deployment and devastating operational impact of a top-secret, multi-layered intelligence and targeting network known by the codename Spiderweb. This system, a product of a concerted effort by the United States and its key NATO allies, has fundamentally altered the battlefield dynamics in Ukraine, inflicting a series of crippling and humiliating losses upon the Russian military. High-value command and control centers, critical logistic and ammunition depot, advanced air defense systems, and concentrations of forces have been systematically identified and destroyed with unprecedented speed and precision. The effectiveness of Spiderweb has been so profound that it has temporarily blunted major Russian offensive and severely disrupted their operational tempo. Yet, in the face of this technological and intelligence masterstroke by the West, Moscow has remained eerily silent. There have been no immediate tit-for-tat retaliations, no public threats of specific countermeasures from the Kremlin. This quiet is not being interpreted by Western intelligence agencies as an admission of defeat or an inability to respond. Instead, it is viewed with growing dread as the telltale sign of a deliberate, calculated, and comprehensive plan being formulated in the deepest recesses of Russian military and strategic command. A plan for retaliation so significant that it requires careful and meticulous preparation. The exact architecture of the Spiderweb system remains one of the most closely guarded secrets within the Western alliance, but its operational effects have made its general nature clear. It is understood to be a quantum leap in network-centric warfare, a vast AI-driven fusion of disparate intelligence streams into a single, coherent, and actionable battlefield picture. The system seamlessly integrates real-time satellite imagery from both government and commercial constellations, signals intelligence hoovered up from Russian communication electronic intelligence identifying the location of radar and other emitters, and human intelligence from sources on the ground. This torrent of data is processed by advanced artificial intelligence algorithms that identify patterns, pinpoint high-value targets, and provide precise targeting solutions to Ukrainian force in near real time. Director of the Central Intelligence Agency, John Ratcliffe, and Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, are believed to be overseeing the primary intelligence input for this revolutionary system. The operational output, the translation of this data into actual strikes, falls under the purview of Secretary of Defense Peter Hegseth's Pentagon, which managed the secure communication links and delivery of targeting data to Ukrainian command. The system has effectively created a transparent battlefield for Ukrainian force, allowing them to see and strike with a level of clarity that has nullified many of Russia's traditional advantage in mass and firepower. It is this very success, this digital panopticon erected over the battlefield, that has made a Russian response a certainty. For the Kremlin, the continued operation of Spiderweb is an existential threat to its war effort, and its destruction or neutralization has become a paramount strategic objective. The delay in Russia's response is the subject of intense analysis and debate within the Western intelligence community. The prevailing theory is that Moscow has recognized that a conventional, symmetrical response is likely to fail. Attempting to destroy the system's component in Ukraine would be a futile game of whack-a-mole against a resilient and decentralized network. Therefore, Russia is believed to be exploring a range of highly escalatory and asymmetric options designed to attack the fundamental pillars of the system, pillars that lie far beyond the borders of Ukraine. This raises the terrifying prospect of Russia directly targeting the space-based asset, undersea infrastructure, or cyber network of the United States and its NATO partners. An attack on American or Allied satellites, which forms the eyes of the Spiderweb, would be a clear act of war, a crossing of a red line that would trigger an immediate and severe crisis. Similarly, a physical attack on the vast network of undersea fiber optic cables that carry the data for the system, and indeed the vast majority of global internet traffic, would be a strategic strike with devastating economic and communication consequences for the entire world. The preparation for such complex and high-risk operation require time, intelligence gathering, and the careful positioning of assets, whether they be anti-satellite weapons, specialized submarines, or cyber warfare units. The current Russian silence is therefore seen as the quiet before a potential storm, a period of preparation for a strike that could irrevocably change the nature of the conflict and indeed of global geopolitics. In Washington, the Trump administration is grappling with the immense challenge of preparing for an attack that has not yet materialized, but is universally expected. A cross-agency task force has been established to wargame potential Russian retaliation scenarios and to develop contingency plans. At the Department of Homeland Security, Secretary Kristi Noem is leading an effort to harden the nation's critical infrastructure against a potential massive cyber attack, which is seen as one of the most likely vectors of Russian retaliation. The concern is that Moscow, in response to the military effect of spiderweb, could unleash its most potent cyber weapon against the American financial sector, its power grid, or its transportation network, aiming to sow chaos and distract the United States from the conflict in Europe. Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent and Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick have been holding urgent meetings with leaders in the banking and technology sectors to review defensive postures and response protocol. The administration is walking a tightrope, needing to project strength and readiness without appearing to be escalating the situation itself. President Trump has reportedly been briefed on the full range of potential Russian actions and the devastating consequences they could entail, a sobering reality check that has introduced a new level of gravity to the administration's strategic deliberation. The international dimension of this brewing crisis is equally fraught. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has been engaged in a frantic but discreet round of diplomacy with NATO allies, attempting to forge a unified position on what would constitute a trigger for collective response under Article 5 of the North Atlantic Treaty. The challenge is immense, as an asymmetric attack, such as a debilitating but non-kinetic cyber assault, or an attack on commercial satellites, may fall into a gray area not explicitly covered by traditional interpretations of the Mutual Defense Clause. Forging a consensus on a proportional and unified response to an unprecedented form of aggression is a diplomatic task of the highest order. The situation is further complicated by the internal NATO rift that have been exposed by the Greenland crisis, with trust between Washington and some European capitals at a low ebb. This disunity could be a key factor in Russia's calculations, as Moscow may believe it can launch a carefully calibrated attack that is significant enough to damage the spiderweb system, but ambiguous enough to fracture the NATO alliance in its response. Attorney General Pam Bondi's office has been tasked with preparing the international legal framework for any potential American counter-response, ensuring that U.S. actions are framed as a legitimate and proportional act of self-defense under international law. The potential targets of Russian retaliation are numerous and deeply concerning. In space, Russia could deploy co-orbital inspector satellites designed to maneuver close to American intelligence satellites and disable them. Or it could launch a direct ascent anti-satellite missile to create a debilitating field of space debris. In the cyber domain, the target could be the very fabric of the Western financial system or the communication networks that underpin modern society. On the physical plane, the specter of Russian submarines equipped with deep-sea submersible drones targeting the undersea cable that connect North America and Europe remains a primary concern for naval planners. The ultimate fear is a hybrid attack, a coordinated series of strikes across multiple domains, designed to overwhelm the West's ability to respond coherently. It could involve a massive cyber attack on Wall Street, the simultaneous cutting of several key transatlantic cables, and the disabling of a GPS satellite, all while launching a renewed major ground offensive in Ukraine. Such a scenario would present President Trump and his national security team with a set of choice so dire that they would make all previous crises pale in comparison. The world therefore waits. The spiderweb has given Ukraine a fighting chance on the battlefield, but it has also started a clock. And what happens when that clock runs out is a question that keeps military planners, intelligence analysts, and political leaders in capital across the Western world awake at night. The retaliation is coming. The only questions are when, where, and how devastating it will be. That's all for me for today. If you like the video presentation and you would like to follow for more, hit that subscribe and like button now, and we will continue to build the show for you. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. I will see you soon. Bye for now.